Hello lovely butterfly, it's France. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a little something a bit different for you. I wanted to show you how I transform this into this the mixed media way. Now, first things first, this video is in no way sponsored. Like, if only, right? Before we can start, we need to open this one properly. And it actually says right on the box how to open it. So follow those instructions because we will need that shape to turn it into a pen holder. So let's see if we can manage. Sometimes nails are heavy. There we go. Second thing we need to do is to get rid of all the chocolate. So here we go. The sacrifices one has to make. Let's get to work. Now that my box is properly open, I'm using double-sided tape to glue the two rectangles together to maintain the shape of the pen holder. I took out a piece of craft stock and I'm just tracing the bottom of the box. And after cutting that, I will keep that aside for later on. That is what I will use to strengthen the bottom of the box just a little bit. You could do this with sturdier paper, but it's not really necessary. This is Tengucho paper. Now, Tengucho paper is very, very thin, and it doesn't have the coating like tissue paper has, but it is super strong. I mean, they make tea bags out of this, so it can take a bit. I'm sizing it down so that it fits around the box. And that is what I will use to go around the box with. It's super easy because it will take the shape easily and it will stick in place super easily as well. This is Fresco finish paint. There is no need to go in with gesso when you're using Fresco finish paint. And this paint will do everything in one. So it will give me the primer coating, it will serve as a glue, and it will give me the finishing touch that I want to have. So this is my base color. I just apply one coat, I use it to stick the paper in place, and I'm done. I'm cutting out triangles at the edges of the box, just like you would do when covering a book with paper. It's the same technique basically. once I'm done with the bottom, I'm doing the same thing with the top of the box. So I'm cutting triangles where the edges meet so that I can fold them in. And this way I have nice finished edges everywhere. And again, I'm just using the paint as a glue to make it stick. And this way everything will be nicely finished and tucked in. This side of the box has more challenging shapes, but there's nothing that the Tengucho paper cannot follow as long as you cut little strips. So once those little strips are cut, I will shorten them because they're a bit too long and well, there's only so much paper that you need to tuck it in. And then again, using my paint, I'm going to use it as a glue and push the little strips inside of the box. This way everything will look nicely tucked in and finished all at once. To give my box the nice vintage look that I wanted to have, I'm using crackle glaze from Paperartsy. I'm just spreading it out with my palette knife. Now the thing is, I want to do this on several sides of the box, so I'll have to do them one by one and then leaving it aside to dry. While it's drying, of course, I'm doing something else. I am measuring the insides of the two compartments of the box so that I can trace them on cardstock, and that is what I will use to dress up the inside of the box. And of course I need 2 of these, as the Leo box has 2 little compartments. Once they're cut, I'm using a bit of distress ink, just a vintage photo, to add some interest to it and make it look well vintage. I was so eager to get these inside of the box that I forgot to check at some point if my camera was actually filming, and I forgot to show you how I make the paper match the inside of the box. So I just slip it in there and then trace with a pencil the shape of the box and then just cut it. Simple as that. And I just put some glue at the bottom of the shape before pushing it in the box, and then at the top of the flaps that will stick to the side. I still have 2 sides to do with my crackle glaze, so now that the front is dry and that my insides are in place, I can do the second one. And while this one is drying, I will be putting down a layer in my A Layer a Day art channel. Last side. This is where it starts to get exciting, because you know that when this is dry, you can actually start making this pretty. I left my box aside to dry, and meanwhile I picked out a couple of stems. These are from my Natural Beauty stem set, and I picked out several, not really knowing which one I would use except for the flowers. This is watercolor paper. I started with water and then a couple of colors. Now I will list all the colors and products that I have been using in the description of this video. And to make it more interesting, I also applied a bit of the color on my craft sheet to then pick it up. Once that my paper is dry, I can stamp the 2 flowers, because I will be combining both, and I'm just stamping them with black archival ink. I'm keeping the biggest pieces of paper and only tossing away the smallest one. Everything is dry. I can finally start playing with some color. I'm using a big sponge tool and 2 colors from the Fresco finish. And the thing is to not go back and forth with the paint. That is what will give you the nicest cracks in the paint. I'm cleaning my hand because I have to put my hand back in the box, and I don't want any of that clear paint on the edges of the inside where I have the dark color. I left it aside to dry, but apparently not long enough, and then I'm going in with a sanding block to really distress it. And there is no paint that says distress crackle paint like Fresco finish. To accentuate the vintage feel even more, I'm going in with 2 colors of the distress inks, just applying them lightly here and there. At this stage, now that I'm done with paint, I can glue down that little reinforcement that I prepped at the beginning. And again, just doing it with double-sided tape. This might not be an art channeling spread, nonetheless, I still want to have some numbers stamped on there. I mean, whatever it is I do in my art channeling are things that I like, so of course I will be reusing those same techniques on my little box. Before gluing down my flowers, I want to go in with my circle stencil, first tracing it with a fine liner and then spicing things up a little bit. I'm firing up my Posca markers, a white one and a black one later on, and well, if you've been following me for a while, you already know what it is I'm going to do. I'm going to add some light on one side of the circle and some shade on the other. So after tracing with my Posca marker, I'm going in with a water brush and just pulling the color away from the edge of the circle. I want to darken up the center part of my shade flowers, so to do that I'm using a Neocolor II, which is water soluble, and I receive a lot of questions on what it is I use to sharpen my art tools, and I'm using this metallic sharpener. I'm always using the biggest opening so that I have a lot of control on how much pressure I want to add to the part that needs to be sharpened and where it is I want to add it. This way I can play with the angle of how I hold my pencil, or in this case my pastel, and sharpen exactly what it is I want to sharpen. So I've scribbled down a bit of color on the flower, and now using my water brush again, I'm blending it in. And there's no point in doing the whole flower because it will be partially covered up by the other one. I'm gluing the first flower directly on the box using a fine line applicator to apply the glue exactly where it is I want to have it, and then just sticking it down. For the second flower, however, I want to give it a little bit of dimension, so I'm using 3D foam. Just because I like it and just because I can, I decided to repeat the circle technique on the other side, tracing 3 circles on top of one another. I stamped my word on a piece of leftover paper that I colorized previously, just using archival ink, and then again, using 3D foam, I glued it on the box. To make my word stand out and repeat the pattern that I had from the 2 flowers, I gave my word a little black background, just using some black cardstock. To continue to dress up my box, I stamped my birds from my Drama Llama stamp set again on a leftover piece of paper so that all the colors on my little box would match. Just stamping it with archival ink and then the fun part, cutting it out. I didn't want to have all the birds on the front, so I decided to trim it off in such a way that I would also have 2 pieces of the bird stamp to put on the side of the box. And then again I could simply glue it on the box, and this is a good reason to have a fine line applicator because these are really small pieces of paper and it allows you to put the glue exactly where it needs to be. I decided to give my box some splatters in the same colors that I used for the paper. So I took out the matching Fresco finish paints, and of course I'm covering up my focal points so that they don't get any of those splatters. Just taking the paint, tiny amounts, and then adding water to them so that they would become splatterable, if that's a word. And if not, it is one now. I detoured the remaining little birds and used them to put on each side of the box so that I would have something on each side as well. To make everything work together, I used the same technique as I did for the circles, but this time in a line. So I used the same Posca markers and a water brush, and I pulled the white color to the top and then the black color to the bottom of the box. This way the sides and the little birds and everything else that I have on the box is working nicely together. That's it, my little box is ready to stay on my table and hold my pens. I hope you liked today's video. If so, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to click on the little bell to receive notifications of new videos. I will see you back here next time. Don't forget to put down a layer a day. Butterfly kisses.